It was a Friday night, an ordinary evening that should have been peaceful. I wanted to unwind from the week's exhaustion, relax a little, and enjoy a quiet night with my husband. We were sitting at home, sipping wine, and talking about random things. Everything felt serene until my husband asked something unexpected. Out of nowhere, he said, "Have you ever thought about being with other men?" At first, I thought he was joking and laughed it off. But he didn't laugh. The seriousness in his eyes stunned me. "What do you mean?" I asked cautiously. He clarified, mentioning 3 black men specifically. My heart raced, not out of excitement but fear. That night, we didn't talk much more about it, but it was just the beginning. As days passed, the topic resurfaced repeatedly. It started with small comments, then progressed to more direct suggestions. He said it could spice up our relationship and assured me it would be a one-time thing. These discussions left me uneasy, but I didn't know how to respond. One evening, he went a step further, suggesting we meet these 3 men. "Just a friendly get-together," he said. Reluctantly, and hoping to prove it was merely a fleeting fantasy, I agreed. That evening, we met the men at a bar. They were polite, charming, and seemed friendly, but there was an undercurrent of something unspoken. My husband, on the other hand, seemed entirely at ease, which made me even more uncomfortable. As the night progressed, the situation grew increasingly awkward. Their lingering glances and subtle gestures made me uneasy. Eventually, we returned to our house. "It'll be more relaxed at home," my husband said, and though I knew it wasn't the right decision, it felt too late to turn back. At home, the tension escalated. At one point, I went to the kitchen to catch my breath. One of the men followed me, offering to help. He stood too close, so close I could feel his breath on my neck. He leaned in and whispered something. Most of it was inaudible, but his intentions were clear. This wasn't about helping me. I froze, unsure of what to do. Should I yell? Push him away? My mind raced, but my body felt paralyzed. Somehow, I managed to leave the kitchen and return to the living room, where my husband was laughing with his friends as if nothing had happened. The weight of my anger and helplessness grew heavier. I sat on the edge of the couch, gripping the cushion tightly, trying to process what was happening. My husband seemed oblivious, or worse, indifferent. The night dragged on, each moment feeling heavier than the last. Finally, the men left, and I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. But the damage was done. I turned to my husband, demanding an explanation. "What was that?" I asked, my voice trembling with emotion. He looked genuinely surprised, as if he didn't understand my anger. "It was just for fun," he shrugged, brushing off my concerns. His indifference enraged me. "Fun?" I said, my voice rising. "You call putting me in that situation fun? One of them was all over me, and you didn't care." His expression shifted slightly, but he didn't apologize. Instead, he got defensive. "You didn't have to do anything you didn't want to," he said. That was the final straw. I erupted, explaining how trapped I had felt, how powerless. I trusted him to protect me, to respect my boundaries, but instead, he had prioritized his fantasy over my comfort. The argument lasted for what felt like hours. He refused to acknowledge the gravity of what had happened, insisting I was overreacting. By the end of the fight, I was shaking. He stormed off to the bedroom, leaving me alone in the living room. I sat there, staring at the empty wine glasses and remnants of a night that had nearly destroyed everything. I felt betrayed, hurt, and lost. Eventually, I went to the bedroom, determined to confront him one last time. He was lying there, scrolling on his phone as if nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway, my voice quiet but firm. "We need to talk," I said. He glanced up, uninterested. "About tonight," I added, sitting on the edge of the bed. He sighed, setting his phone down. It was just for fun, he repeated. You didn't have to do anything you didn't want to. I couldn't hold back any longer. I didn't know how. I snapped. You put me in a situation where I felt trapped, where I didn't know what to do. You didn't care about how I felt. You were too busy chasing some fantasy to notice what it was doing to me. For a moment, he looked away, as if considering my words. But when he finally spoke, his voice was cold. You're overreacting. Nothing happened. That was it. I stood up, grabbing my phone. Where are you going? He asked sharply. I need space, I replied. I need to figure out what I want because right now, I don't think I can do this anymore. Without waiting for a response, I walked out the door. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt a strange sense of relief. I had spent so much time trying to meet his expectations that I had lost sight of what I needed, what I deserved. No one should feel trapped in their own life, especially not in their marriage. That night, as I walked away from the house, I made a promise to myself. I would no longer let anyone force me into situations I wasn't comfortable with. I would take back control of my life and my choices, starting now.